that better? Talk to him. Okay, so, there we go. Sorry, guys. Thank you, Todd. Do you want me to start over? Anybody? Okay. So I want to thank everybody for coming. I think it's really important that everybody has a voice because there are different concerns, varying concerns, and I think we all need an opportunity to address to the doctor our concerns. He's agreed to be here and answer questions. The first thing we're going to do is the doctor's going to describe his plan for us and go over that. Then we're going to have the two sheriff candidates address the safety and security issues, and then we'll have a public comment and question and answer where you guys can just ask the doctor or whoever their thoughts. And I'd like to start out by asking Pastor Conway from Souls Harbor to give the invitation.
Bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come to you with great expectation of what you can do in the hearts of people. Lord, as we understand that we have problems in our community and as is across even this nation, they need to be addressed in a fashion that would make change possible in people's lives. We ask you, Lord, to help us each one be able to absorb the information this evening, ask intelligent questions, and get some fruitful answers. And we give you the praise for the outcome in Jesus' name, and everyone said, amen.
Thank you, Pastor. Now we'll hear from Dr. Sajid.
Thank you, Mr. Thresher, for inviting me this evening, and good evening, and thank you all for coming this evening. As you know, I'm Dr. Sajid. I own Astra Behavioral Health, which is a psychiatric practice for all ages, for children, adolescents, adults, and geriatrics. I am a board certified child and adolescent psychiatrist and adult psychiatrist. I have been part of this community for a while, more so in the Hardin County for the last 10 years. And we have Astra Behavioral Health now in Elizabethtown, Bardstown, and in Hardersburg. Over the last several years, by being part of this community, you all know how we have been touched by this drug epidemic. There is hardly any one of us who has not directly or indirectly been affected by that. I have provided substance abuse treatments in the outpatient for a long time. I have been certified and licensed to prescribe Suboxone, but as you know, Suboxone has been mostly prescribed by the cash-only clinics around the country. And I have not done that because personally I felt that was not the right thing to do. I waited for so many years, and now I prescribe Suboxone in the outpatient only for insured and mostly the Medicaid, which are poor and the indigent population. And we provide as part of the whole treatment modality, not just writing them prescriptions alone. As I said, over the last several months, I was approached by many of our patients, my employees, with the current drug epidemic and the need for a substance abuse treatment facility in Nelson County. We looked for several options, and the one I think is proposed made the most sense because it is still located a little bit, away from the main town or the community, but it is still close enough. And number one. Number two, the building has been sitting there for many years without any use. And number three, if you look at the drug epidemic numbers, according to the Kentucky Office of Drug Control, we lost 19 adults due to overdose deaths in Nelson County in 2017. Prior to that, we had 11. Before that year, we had only 4 or 5. So it's increasing tremendously. Our young people are suffering. Our families are suffering. If we don't do anything, this is not going to stop right here. That was my sole motive to initiate this project. And as far as the overall project is concerned, my proposal is to have a longer-term residential treatment facility. When I say longer-term, I'm meaning between 90 to 180 days. Usually the average is around 100 days. When we talk about residential, people are going to be staying there. We will not be prescribing Suboxone or Methadone out of that location at all. And then the other part is they're going to be involved with the treatment 24/7 almost. Okay, we will have the trained staff and professionals on site, and I have talked to Mr. Thrasher and Mr. Harper about how we can make the place more secure. There have been a couple of ideas we discussed. One of them being patrol and hire off-duty officers. The other is to have a substation of the sheriff office on the premises. And third, which we will have anyway, is the video surveillance 24/7. And we will have a security on site. And we should not forget that these are not criminals. These are patients among us, your and our friends and families dealing with it. Okay? That's where we are, and we will make any effort to make your environment, your community safe. I am all for community, for families. Had I, done Suboxone alone, many clinics in Elizabethtown, people from Nelson County go to Danville, Elizabethtown, Louisville, pay $200 cash for one prescription of Suboxone. And people and the physicians have made a lot of money. I'm not one of those. Okay. And as far as the security is concerned, rest assured this will not increase the crime rate of the community. I have this study with me from Johns Hopkins School, which was published. It is online. You can Google it, which says its conclusion is that this is a very common acronym used called NIMBY, not in my backyard. It could be anywhere else, we all want it, but not in my backyard. They tested this hypothesis, whether it really increases the crime rate of the community. Their conclusion is that you should be worried more about the crime rate by having a liquor store in your community than drug rehab facility. And nowhere in the country, drug rehab facility has increased the crime rate. Okay. With this, I want to just thank you for having me, and I understand your concern. The fear of unknown is a very big fear. Over there, those neighbors, they have been living there for a reason, I understand that. But that reason will not be compromised, and I am here to answer any questions you have, or however, it takes to make you satisfied. I thank you very much, and let me know if you have any questions.
Dr. Raymer, would you like to address some safety and security concerns? Okay.
Speak up. I use my big voice. I'm just here collecting data, just like y'all are concerned citizens in this area. I don't know much about what's going on with the clinic. I've done a little bit of research myself, and just like you all are. We go from the rumor mill of 30-day inpatient clinic to now a 90 to 100-day inpatient clinic. So those are things that I'm gathering, just like you all are. Safety issues. You hear the rumors that they're going to provide the security to their facility. So now we're hearing that the sheriff's office is going to provide the security for that facility. So those are things that I'm gathering and take notes and go dealing with that.
Thank you.
We have a new sheriff that will be elected, whether it's Todd himself or myself. I'm not committing anything. I haven't promised anybody anything, but I can tell you this: if I'm elected the next sheriff, there will be adequate manpower on the road. Meaning, under my watch, we will have more manpower than we have currently right now.
So you feel that's necessary?
What's that?
You feel that would be necessary if everybody's over?
I can tell you that there's one in Chaplin. We've made a few runs towards that area, but I don't know what this facility is going to be like. Rumors is Suboxone Clinic. If it is that, then yes, it's going to affect the sheriff's office.
Yes, sir.
So I'm gathering information just like you guys are and connecting dots. Yes, ma'am. Per shift, so I don't want to go into details of how our shifts run because jeopardizing what we do. But on shift for our day shift, we have 4 guys, and under me we will have 5. So I'm adding at least an extra body. Night shift is the same. I work currently night shift. I'm a night shift supervisor, and it depends where you're at in the county for us to get from somewhere to the Coxs Creek. I just drove 55 miles an hour from the center of town, 3rd Street and 245, and it took me 9 minutes. That was at 6:45. If we have a call out here during school hours or releasing school, it's going to be longer because parents are picking up kids and they hear it. The thing is this, guys, we've got social media. If something happens, it goes on social media, everybody converts to this school because they're picking up their kids. Guess what? Traffic hazard comes with it along here. So they're different things. I got my wheels are turning and I'm collecting information just like y'all are.
I think, may I say something about, I think it's so glad to hear the sheriff, and I like to hear that.
I am not the sheriff. I'm a candidate.
Yes, sir. Both these gentlemen, one of these gentlemen here are going to be the next sheriff in January, so they'll take office the 1st of January. So right now, neither of them are sheriffs. They're both candidates. Raymond is the Democratic candidate and Todd is the Republican.
It's really nice that the police and whatever is here to jump in. But I want to come back to the doctor. It's really nice that he has something to help patients. But the place, this is our backyard. We say not in my backyard. Everyone who is here knows where their backyard is and is concerned about their backyard and every friend, family, whoever that is, to get help.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. I like your vocal. Anyway. My name's Todd Harper. Like he said, I'm also a candidate for sheriff in Nelson County along with Raymond. And just like Raymond, regardless of how he feels or I feel about the rehab facility being located here, we don't have a say in it. And so that's up to the powers that be to make those decisions. And so I appreciate a community that comes out to voice their opinion, though, what they believe. And obviously, drug addiction is running rampant across the entire country. It's everywhere. It's a problem. It's a problem that needs to be addressed, but it needs to be addressed in the proper manner. And so as far as the security goes for a rehab facility, if it was to go through, and I don't know if it will or it won't, but if it was to go through, and if I was elected to be sheriff, there would be security concerns. Anytime you get a group of, I don't care if they're people not addicted to drugs, you get 100 people together, there's going to be security concern. That's why you see the police at all these different events. Even though they're good events, you still see the police there because there's always a concern. Well, when you have a 100 facility, possibly 100 people being there at a facility, it very well could be a concern. And I spoke to Dr. Sahid, and based on what he was telling me, is that he is open to security measures to protect the community to the best of his ability. He's wanting to put in cameras all around the facility. He's wanting to put up a fence around the facility. He's wanting to put in a guard gate with in-house security officers there working that. And in addition to that, he had made mention of making a sheriff's office a substation on site, and was willing to hire off-duty deputy sheriffs to work security on site. And I don't know all the details of all of that stuff and how that's going to work. Obviously, that's putting the cart before the horse. But just to let you know, these are things that he has offered to do. Obviously, like Raymond alluded to, it's a response issue for deputy sheriffs, and he was just coming from the courthouse, but the sheriff's deputies could be in Chaplin, or could be in Howardstown, New Haven, Bloomfield, and if something was to happen, it would be an issue. So as far as response time goes, so I do think it is important if a doctor was open to hiring deputy sheriffs to work on site. I don't know all the details of that and how that would go or anything like that, but I do believe it's necessary if it was to be built, if it was to happen. And so I understand your concerns, and I agree with your concerns. I think it is legitimate concerns, and they are concerns that need to be addressed. And like I said, I have nothing to do with whether it is built or isn't built or however that goes, but I would, if elected, I would have a lot to do with protecting you people if there was to be an issue. So I would want to do my very best as sheriff of Nelson County to make sure that you were protected and the people that were there at the facility were protected. And I think that's the ultimate job of the sheriff. So does anybody have any questions for me? Yes, sir.
I think the biggest concern here is you all talking about the security here. It's not the security here. It's when they leave this facility and are on neighbors' properties and adjoining properties. That's the big issue.
Or people coming in, you don't know who's going to be coming in trying to get to them. You know, a person that's on drugs, they're not by themselves most of the time. They're surrounded by a lot of people just like them.
Look, my name's Michael Heiser. I run a counseling center. I run a counseling center here in Nelson County already. I've been here for years. Most of y'all don't know me because I don't come out here. I also work in Louisville for JDAC. I run their family program. I never have yet ever in the industry, when I worked with Dr. Sajid at Lincoln Trail for a year, I never once seen a fight, a robbery, or anything like that at any of these. Not one time.
But if you're running a J-9 facility, you're running
I live in
Your front yard and your backyard, not ours.
I live here.
Well, we that's what we're saying right down here.
I live in Coxs Creek.
Put it over there.
I will if they build it here.
No, we live right next.
Yeah, we live right there.
But what I'm saying is amongst you right now lives people with addiction. Amongst you right now.
First of
Like
all,
standing right here is a guy who's 15 years sober. I haven't robbed
a
anybody.
family that is full of addiction.
Then you
I've got
should want
two
it.
brothers. I don't care where you put it. Don't put it by our property. We bought the property because we were out here by ourselves. We didn't have to worry about drug addicts or anything else out here. Move it elsewhere.
But understand, we have to worry about drug addiction everywhere. Worry about it when it's not treated.
I'm not from the community. I do not live here. I live in Bullock County. I am a realtor in the area. I sold Morgan her home. I have a drug addict brother who is currently in Bullock County facility. I have a cousin that is currently in the Jefferson County jail. They have been in and out of these facilities. So it's not, and my brother is a danger to society when he is on these drugs. I have lived it. You can't tell me that it's not. I've actually been taking knives out of his hand. He's tried to stab my father. You cannot say that these people are not an issue. So my question to the doctor is, if you're going to open this facility, for one, you can only run a 16-bed facility if you're going to get Medicaid. So are you going to be running a Medicaid facility? Are you going to have just 16 beds? Or are you going to do like the Hope Center does in Louisville? Are you going to do it like they do in Frankfurt? How are you going to run that facility? Are you going to also have a homeless shelter attached to this program? My brothers and cousins are in and out of these facilities. My cousin has been in and out of the Suboxone clinic numerous times. He's hung himself once, and he has been brought back to life twice because he went to the Suboxone clinic, wasn't getting enough of what he wanted, bought the Suboxone off the street, and also the heroin. Hung himself. Luckily, they brought him back. This is more than just an issue of where this facility is. It's not equipped for it. You can't, for one, the Hope Center, they do the homeless shelter. They bring people in, they drop them off every single day, and they are entered into the program as they work their way into it. They're court ordered there. My brother's been court ordered there numerous times, and it doesn't work. The facility does not work. Are you going to take court ordered people in? Or are you just saying that you're going to take people in from Nelson County off of the street? Because there are not 100 people in Nelson County that would volunteer to come and lay in your bed to get clean. There are not 100 people that you can go out there and sign up. These clinics do not work. And if you do want it to work, the Hope Center in Lexington is probably the best that my brother has ever been to, but it is equipped for that. They also have the homeless shelter, they have the beds, and they have the manpower for it. It's right in the inner city. They employ these people. Where are you going to employ these people? You're saying 180 days. That's no good. My brother's been there a year. He's been there a year and a half at a time and gets out and is not clean for more than a month. It does not work. You cannot say that it does. You have to train these people to want a better life. They have to want to be there. They have to want to change their life. They have to have God there. Are you going to have a church on staff? What are you going to have here? Can you tell me that? Can you tell me how your facility is going to be set up? Because if you're not with Medicaid, which is a 16-bed facility, unless you have 2 addresses like the Isaiah House does, and then you have 32 beds equipped, how are you going to run this facility? You're saying it's 100 bed. Are you also going to put a homeless shelter in this facility? Can you answer that for me?
Well, thank you very much for sharing your brother's, story. And I'm really sorry to hear that he did not do very well. And it is actually the common story. And I applaud your courage, encouragement, and having the ability to tell and share in front of everybody. Well, first question is that what kind of facility is this going to be? To my knowledge, there is no such facility in Kentucky yet of this kind. This will be a residential facility, more so for Medicare, Medicaid patients. As I said, there are several such facilities other than Kentucky, but these are more longer term in which patients stay there and participate in the treatment 8 hours a day, almost every day, 7 days a week. Patients, when they move along their treatment, make progress, they can be hired over there because our goal is to make them functional, integrate into the community. There will be a team of people who will be working with the employers. We will not, I think someone mentioned that what will you do when they discharge? We do not discharge these patients to walk out and go into the neighborhoods.
But you can't physically hold them. If they're not court-ordered, which is what I've heard that you're not wanting to do, you're not wanting court-ordered patients, you can't hold them.
Two things. One, we will be admitting these people mostly 99% from other facilities. They will be completing the detox, and then those facilities will be calling us. We will be reviewing their history, making sure that they meet the criteria, then accept them, and they will be... There might be court orders. I'm not going to deny that, okay? But there may be, but most of them going to be coming after completing a detox from other inpatient settings. Once they are accepted, they're going to arrive not just by themselves. It's going to be either our staff going to go get them, or they will be, accompanied by their families and friends too, because they have been accepted. It's not going to be that you just walk in and ask, well, I am here because I've been using and I need help. Well, this is not what we are trying to do.
So it's not just a community treatment facility like it's been said. It's going to be outside. We're going to be bringing people from in and out of state or from different counties.
Different counties, yes, but not from different states. Our goal is to serve Nelson County and the surrounding counties. Just like your brother has been in counties in other, that's what...
Everyone, every single one of them is important.
But that's the way, we plan. And as I said, we will not letting them just walk out into the neighborhood.
Operated. So you have a theory right now, really. You don't have anything to go on other than your theory. Is that correct?
So there are places like this in other states which are being very successful. I'm sorry?
The other ones in the other states, have they been placed in residential areas like the one places?
I think most of them are in the residential areas.
I speak for myself, I don't know that you're not well. The place is not well.
Do you all realize what it's going to do to the property values?
Y'all have any idea about
We
that?
moved here 10 years ago to get away from our neighborhood, which was very nice when we moved there 20 years ago. Got overtook by drugs. We moved here for peace and serene and quality of life. And now when we pull in our driveway, we're going to see a locked gate at your place with security. Where's my serene peace in this late stage of my life?
Doctor, I'd like to ask you a question. Why did you take this location? Why?
Yeah.
There's property in Nelson County right now. There's the old Holiday Inn that sits out on New Haven Road that has just been rehabilitated completely. 72 beds you can get right away. You don't have to drop anything in as far as maintenance or anything else on this. And this gentleman with the hat over there that's never seen a fight, I was in law enforcement for 25 years. I've seen more than my fair share.
I said at the facilities.
Yeah, at your facility. I've taken it back to your facilities. So,
I think wherever we had chosen the place, this would have been the same concern everywhere. As I said, the facilities, you can look around, there are many examples which are surrounded. There are many facilities which are surrounded by the communities, and nowhere the crime rate, security risk has gone up. Yes.
Do you believe that your property value would go down if they put one right next to your house? Do you think that you'd be able to sell your home? No. I know.
Commercial area would belong. He had a great idea. It's go right, go Holiday Inn, be a great place.
Yeah, I like the Holiday Inn. That's right. That's not a bad spot.
Brother, you like
All right, guys. Well, I'm Morgan, if anybody doesn't know. Dr. Saad, I do kind of want to address at first. I hope that you truly can step back and understand where we're coming from. Understand you're coming from your profession, this is your job, this is your livelihood, but I also want you to understand where we're coming from. And I'm sure you take pride in Landy's Lakes, which is where you currently live, right? So, considering the luxuries of your neighborhood and your community association, you can relate to being home. This is home to us. This is what many of us, this is why we don't live in the city. We chose this area so that we didn't have to deal with the bullshit of the city life. And I guess I should approach it more, we just hope that you can be compassionate with us and understand where we're coming from, that this is our lives we're giving up, this is our family's safety. Whether you see it that way or not, it is that way to us. We have to worry about whenever I go out to my barn in the middle of the night to check on an animal, or anyone else goes out to the barn in the middle of the night to do whatever, or they leave for 3 o'clock in the morning. Is there going to be somebody sleeping in their car? Is there going to be some runaway in my barn? Those are all of our concerns that you have to step back away from the city life and understand that we're coming from a rural community. Peace and quiet, we don't have to deal with lights, we don't have to deal with noise, we don't have to deal with traffic. That's why we chose this area. This is our community, this is our homes, and this is what we're protecting. And guys, I have quite a few questions here that I'm going to ask the doctor that's going to probably alleviate some of your all's questions and maybe a little bit of anger. First one is it for men and women? Both, okay. And what is going to be your security ratio at all times? Security to staff. Do you have an actual proposed plan for how you plan to run the facility?
At this point, we don't.
You don't. So you wouldn't know what your staffing ratio would be either, correct? Not yet. When do you plan on releasing your proposed plan?
Well, that will be towards
That will be towards the end of the, because we are still 6 months to a year away, even if it is approved, and it's going to take a lot of work, and I can reassure you, whatever staffing, security, cost, or expense it takes, I would do that. I will do anything to make your community safer and more secure, and you will not have the money as the reason that I did not spend.
you don't have a business plan this time.
I'm not sure if you're aware or not, but there is an elementary school, well, we're here, but within, you can walk to where the rehab facility will be. Or you could run. You could get there in 7 minutes, maybe even less, depending upon your athletic ability. It's 8/10 of a mile. That's another thing to consider, and I don't even know, like, is there any regulations out there with it being, you know, this close proximity to an functioning elementary school, you know, what does that entail? Which I'm sure you don't have any questions, those are just kind of some concerns. As to with it being that close, you know, naturally, and I'm not exactly sure what the guidelines are, but, you know, sex offenders can only live so close. Kind of the same, is there any guidelines there that need to be met with an elementary school being 8/10 of a mile away? And I'm sure you don't know a lot of these answers, but what, in your head, you probably know, what is the discharge plan going to look like? And say if someone completes the plan and then has nowhere to go, then what? Where will they be placed?
We will have a team of social workers working on the discharge plan. Majority of those patients, if they do not have a place to go, we will find them a place before. We will not be discharging them to the street.
So you stated earlier that it will not be a Suboxone clinic where they can leave with Suboxone, but will they be given Suboxone throughout their course of treatment at your facility? None at all. There won't be any Suboxone on the premises.
No Suboxone, no nothing.
Okay.
So what will it be?
Well, how would you know? We would be able to know if they're giving it or not.
There's federal regulations, and you can check with the, I forget whatever medical board it is, but I mean, he has to have there's guidelines there. They're not just, he can't release methadone or Suboxone without it being board approved there, and they would find out.
Hey, Mark, follow up on one of those questions. If a person is in this 90-day treatment, and they're somebody that's been brought in, and they're 50-day level, and they decide to leave, where are they placed? Do y'all have any control over that? Or do they just meander out to the community?
If they decide to leave 50 days into the treatment, that's your question?
That's correct.
We cannot let them go to the street, as I said. They have to provide us an address. We will make sure that the address is valid and someone on the other end confirms that yes, this person can come and live with us.
Can you hold them if they are a volunteer person, volunteer patient?
We cannot hold them involuntarily.
If you can't hold them, then how can you say, I got somebody who's going to take care of it?
I tell you, at Lincoln Trail or any other, I work at Lincoln Trail, but at any other acute care facilities which can hold the patient involuntarily, we never had a situation when the person said, you know, stop me if you can, I'm leaving.
But it could happen.
Theoretically, yes.
It happens. It happens. I'm the first say it happens. You can walk out of them places because you cannot go there. If they want to leave, they are able to walk out that door, even if they're portable. They can walk out that door and you can't do nothing about it.
Will it be public knowledge?
The little area is facility. We're not making
On that, is this going to be a detox facility? Okay, let's just say that these people want to come to your facility, whether they're court ordered or not, are you going to detox people at this facility? Are you going to allow people to detox here? And if they are not court ordered, because like I said, I have family members that have been, I have had a cousin that has went to a facility to seek out treatment and did not make the detox process. He could not be held because he is not court ordered. So are you going to have people in your facility that are detoxing, or are you taking people from another facility that have already been detoxed?
Well, they will be detoxed at a different facility. We will not be providing detoxifications.
Will it be public knowledge or disclosed if at any time that you do house paroled residents with criminal or violent history? say, for example, somebody is court ordered, their sentence is to do this much time in jail, or say they take a plea. They take a plea to serve this much time and do so long of a treatment program, or they do this much house arrest. Something of that matter where they have not been formally charged, let's say, or even if they have, but they still have to, they're getting out early, whatever those means are, if they are avoiding the full sentence, whatever that may be for that individual person, if they are a criminal, if they have a criminal or violent history, such as federal offenses, will that be made aware of to the local residents that are there in close proximity?
Well, these patients will have, HIPAA rights and confidentiality, but mostly those patients are those with minor crimes. We do not take this facility is not going to bail them out of their sentence. These are those which are minor crimes, and the judges and the community members approve them. And this will not...
What's a minor crime?
Misdemeanor.
I know, but give me an example. Someone that steals something?
They are mostly drug-related, possession. Possession, minor shoplifting, those kind of things. I don't think any of the public funds will be involved, other than insurance is going to pay.
In your conditional use application permit, you stated that there will be recreational therapy on the grounds. What does that entail?
What does that entail is basically just having recreational therapy groups outside, just like, group sports, group activities during the summertime, those kind of things.
Three questions. If you're going to use that spot, are you going to have a detailed plan of how you're going to set it up with a picture of like the structure of the place? And number two, have you been to the actual school itself and looked at it? And number three is, do you get paid off how many people is in your facility, or is it just a general rate? How does that work? Like, do you get a commission off how many people is there at a given time?
And who's giving you the money to start that clinic?
It would be, I'm sorry, first question was?
First question was, are you going to have a detailed business plan?
Yes, we would have a detailed business plan.
With like the structure, how you're going to do security?
How are we going to do security, staffing, where will be the security, sitting at night, shifts, all that. I have been into the facility several times.
So you know how bad it is?
Yes.
Okay. And number three is, how do you get paid? Do you get paid through Medicaid, or do you get a commission on how many people has been there? Or
no commission, just Medicaid, Medicare.
Okay.
I do want to bank off to Medicaid. So Medicaid right now currently will only pay if you have a 16-bed facility. And that is why in this county, the Isaiah House has had to break theirs up. And they are not, they have a 16-bed in one location, 16-bed in another. They could not have that 32 beds in one location in order to receive pay from Medicaid or Medicare. So how does that work? Is there something that you know of that's undercover, or how do you know you're going to get paid for Medicaid on a 100-bed status?
If the facility, it depends on the licensing. Those facilities are called residential without room and board. Ours is going to call most like partial program, which is just a different category, and Medicare and Medicaid do not have limit in the number of beds. The only limit we have is in one group setting, treatment group, we cannot have more than 15 patients.
Why do you slow about that now? You say you've got security here. then you tell us that you can't hold the person here. So how can you protect the elderly, retired people around, the widows, people, the singles, people that, those local people? You got security, but you can't make them stay. How can you protect them after midnight at 2 or 3 o'clock?
That was my next question. So, you cannot legally hold a resident. Whether he wants to leave right now, or he wants to leave 30 minutes or an hour, you cannot, unless he is court ordered and you have to treat it like a jail, you cannot physically say you are not leaving. And I know this may not happen that often, but it can, and it probably will. So what will be your plan of notification? How will you notify the immediate residents in the instance that one does leave without, they check themselves out or whatever, or one goes AWOL, something there happens? What will be your method of notification to the immediate residents?
If anyone goes AWOL, wants to leave, and is a imminent risk, we will call the security police and try to get them to a secure acute hospitalization where they can get assessed and then released. If they are not seen as a threat, then they can go.
But
I am a victim of a person who took drugs. She killed my mother. In this county, probably a lot of you probably remember it was several years ago. She was treated at Lincoln 12. She's been a drug addict for years. She came into my mother's house, stole my brother's wallet, and then when she didn't get what she wanted, she ran my mother over. And you're going to tell me you're going to help these people? No, you got to protect this county. This girl did not want to be killed. And she's in prison now. Now gone to the parole hearings. She has no remorse. She's only sorry that she got caught doing it. And I went to this county complaining about this young lady. And it took my mother's death to make it to their attention. I would not want to see that happen to another family. And I'm sorry, maybe your heart is in the right place, but where you put this place at, where you put this clinic at, is not a good location.
Can I ask a question? Have you purchased it? Is it a done deal?
No, it's not. It's a conditional purchase agreement. It's another agreement. It's not approved. Then the purchase only was approved. So the board of adjustment says go and
that's why it's important on the 9th for you to show up at 10 a.m. because if we can get it stopped, he does not purchase this property. Nobody shows up, he's going to purchase the property.
Let's make it an assisted living care instead of a drug rehab place.
It's fiscal court.
It's on the second floor of the old courthouse. On the 9th at 10 a.m.
Another concern, the security is a concern. My husband and I moved here from out of state 14 years ago. For 3 months, I looked around all over this part of Kentucky where we wanted to put our groups down. If there had been a facility fenced in with security guards 5 minutes away from where I was going to live, I would never have bought my house. And probably a lot of people are going to feel that way. Nobody by choice wants to live close to something like that. And I do volunteer work with people that are court-ordered drug addicts. I won't even get into that. It's frustrating, but we don't need this here.
And I still don't understand why you're not planning a clinic next to the hospital. Where's the money coming from? This to me looks like a private clinic that is set up, and of course you want to help, but I think there's a big profit in for the ones that are investing in it. It's all investment in Nelson County.
you all real quick, just so that you guys can understand it a little bit more. I hate it as much as you all do, but let me just put it to you this way. An addict is federally protected by the Rehabilitation Act. They are seen as a citizen with a disability. So it's not legitimate reason that you don't want it. You just don't want it. Because believe me, I don't want it either. But we have to have a legitimate reason. And I understand each one of your concerns, but there has to be legitimate reason. It just isn't enough to say we don't want it.
That's the only reason why I'm here is because I truly love my family. I know that people may tell you I'm an extremely harsh individual when it comes to a drug addict. I have been made that way. So I am a very non-enabler. And that is the only reason why I'm here. I am not a community member. So this does not affect me at all. I mean, besides real estate, it does not affect me, which in that point of view will negatively impact their community between 25 and 35% in their profit. So besides that point, these facilities are not, they don't work. They do, I'm not saying that every addict does not clean up, but I just don't see a 100-bed facility where you're saying that you do not take court inmates in even succeeding, because there are not 100 addicts in the local and counties that will come and say we're ready to clean up. They won't. It's an epidemic it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare for families. It's a nightmare for property owners. I mean, and it's lining the pockets of doctors, pharmaceuticals, and government. That's it. That's all that it's doing. It does not help the addict at all.
Hang on, I have 3 questions left. Let me address those, and then I will hand it over to the doctor and you guys can ask some questions. Back to the security. You stated in your conditional use application that you were going to have secured entrances. What does that mean? Doors? Are you going to have secured screening around the entire property? What does secured entrances mean in your application?
Well, we will have outside the video, surveillance outside. So that is part of the plan. The secured means that not anyone can just walk in.
So it just be locked at the doors. There won't be fencing. There won't be.
There will be fencing.
How tall that fencing should be?
That we have not
And what are you
discussed.
going to do with the people that are dropped off outside of the facility like they are at home centers every day?
We cannot admit them unless they are pre-approved.
That will be his problem, not be ours.
I mean, that's going to happen. You do realize this, right? This is a rural community. They're going to drop them off. I mean, there's going to be people that are just going to drop them off outside of your facility and leave. And you're not, I mean, what's going to happen with it at that point? Are you all going to call the police, the local police?
Yes.
To pick it up?
Yes.
I mean,
Are they going to speak to the
If they do not go to the acute care facility, emergency room, then we have to call someone to, make them secure.
They'll be left on the street for us to worry about. That will not be his problem. He'll call the police. Whether the police find it that they need to pick them up, take them to a shelter or whatever, that will be at their discretion, but that will not be his problem. If it is not one of his current patients, it won't be his problem, and that's why we have to fight this.
can you clarify, because earlier we answered the same question, and you would only call the police if they were in imminent danger. So if they walk away and they're not in imminent danger, call anybody.
So she said earlier, you said that you wouldn't call police if they were not in imminent danger, but yet if they walk away, just calmly, middle of the night, 2 o'clock in the morning, just calmly, didn't stab anybody, didn't punch anybody, they're not in imminent danger, so you're not going to call the police if they walk away at 2 a.m.?
If they are not imminent danger, we cannot call police. Or police is not going to be able to do anything.
They
But we will not discharge them. We will not like to discharge them. We will.
Won't be notifying anyone once they're in an addiction,
Yes.
correct? He said yes. Hang on, guys. I got 2 more questions, and then we'll open it up. So considering that you know that the conditions that the building's in, and I don't know if any of you all do, but it is poor. I mean poor. And considering that building was built in the Depression, have you thought about the asbestos and how you plan to deal with the renovations with asbestos?
We will. I think there was a question for asbestos. We will deal with that. Yes.
And then also that septic is really old, and some of the residents nearby even said that back whenever it was a school, they had problems with septic backup then. So I did a little bit of research because I'm not really sure how septic systems work. And for nursing homes, if they're not on sewers, which I kind of felt like there wasn't an actual classification for rehabilitation centers, that entailed that you had to have a 13,500-gallon minimum capacity septic tank. That's huge. That is huge. So how would you do that with the zoning that it is, because there's not sewers there for you to use?
Well, I guess that's the question for the architects and for the building inspectors. They have to. We will make sure that we meet all the county and the state regulations.
So anyways, guys, this is my last statement. Us as a community, we have to find something to stop this legality. Just because we don't want it isn't enough. So we have to find discrepancies like what he just said there, that there may be a fence, likely there would be. Guess what? His zoning doesn't allow for that. That's what we have to fight. Yes, he has a conditional use permit, but he still has to follow within his classification of an A1 zoning within that conditional use. We have to find small discrepancies like that, enough of them to add up to where our Board of Adjustments does not see this fit. We have to show that the size of this facility does not commensurate with the size of Coxs Creek's population. Coxs Creek's population is 5,000 people. So we need a 100-bed facility in Coxs Creek. We may need it in Nelson County. We may need it in bordering counties. But we don't need it in Coxs Creek. Those are things that we as a community have to come up with. Unless somebody out here's got $1 million and they come up with a lawyer. Because I don't. So we as a community have to step up, have to find these reasons for this not to go in. I cannot say it enough. Just because we don't want it isn't enough, guys. So we have to stand together. We have to show the Board of Adjustments that this is not the right location. Because his zoning right now does not allow for rehabilitation center. It will with this conditional use permit. We have to stop this conditional use permit from going in. If we can stop that, there will be no rehabilitation center. And I cannot stress that to you all enough. If you can be there August 9th at 10 a.m., you need to be there.
Thank you, Morgan, for all the research you did on that. She worked really hard on that. Philip?
The funding for this program, for your facility, is that all privately funded by you, or is it funded through the government?
It's
privately funded. Okay.
So I just want to let everybody know that I had invited our planning and zoning director, Janet Crow, and I also invited the attorney for the planning and zoning, Mr. Cohen. She was unable to come. She had a prior commitment. But just to give you a background on the process, the fiscal court in this county has passed an ordinance that gives the power, that takes away the power of the fiscal court. Well, gives the power of the fiscal court to a 5-board, what's called a Board of Adjustment. That Board of Adjustment, those 5 people, will make the determination on what goes in here. Morgan's right. This is designated as an A1 agricultural zoning property. In the Nelson County ordinance, the planning and zoning ordinance, there's what's called a conditional use permit for a rehabilitation center. Now, since the fiscal court has basically given up the right to adjudicate this. It's going to be up to these 5 people on that Board of Adjustments how this works. And on August 9th, clearly that's going to be, they're going to make the decision. If you're unhappy with the decision, then it can go to the circuit court, and there's an appeal process through the circuit court. But after speaking with a couple of people at the planning and zoning, there's some questions about whether or not there was a previous rehabilitation center. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the Buckhorn facility in New Haven, but they had actually, the Board of Adjustments, Jeff, do you know when that was? By the way, Jeff, we're our 4th District Magistrate's here. Do you know that?
Several years ago,
Okay. I talked to Judge Watts about it, and his position was that the county lost when the county fought the Buckhorn facility. The county, according to Judge Watts, he said that the Buckhorn facility cost the county a lot of money in court fees, and we had to pay, well, the county had to pay the Buckhorn Rehabilitation Center a bunch of money. So there's a question about whether or not, because of the federal laws saying that we can't discriminate, our Board of Adjustment can't discriminate against a drug rehabilitation center, whether or not the Board of Adjustments would, how they would do that.
How is Buckhorn zoned? How is their property zoned?
I'm not familiar with it. I just talked to Judge Watts about it briefly, and he brought it up. I haven't been able to look at the case, pull the case yet. I plan on doing that. Jeff, do you have anything to say?
No.
Okay. Okay. All right. So is there any question about the process? Everybody's clear on that. Do you have any more questions for Dr. Sajid? Anybody? Will the business plan be ready on August 9th?
No, because we don't know what the August 9th.
Yeah, it has to. I guess it has. I don't know. That's for the Board of Adjustments to deal with, but he's saying no.
Why August 9th?
Why August 9th? The statute says that the minimum 14 days notice. I believe the application was the 22nd or the 23rd when I pulled the application. So it would be the minimum of 14 days from that day. I had asked the Planning and Zoning Board to delay that because just to give everybody some room to just digest all this, because it just popped on us pretty quickly. And I had asked, I go through things fairly well, and I noticed that the bottom signature said that it was a trust instead of a person doing it. And I had brought that up to the Planning and Zoning attorney. They didn't agree with my argument. They're going to file an ancillary supplement to that application. But I just felt that there's moving very quickly in 14 days was a little fast, just so everybody can have a chance to digest, understand, and be able to be vocal about this, because not all the people in Coxs Creek that wanted to be here are able to be here. And not all the people, most of the people here are going to be working at 10 o'clock on August 9th, and that's another issue. I think it should be at 7 o'clock because most people are working. And, I've brought this up to the fiscal court several times, how we need to start having more meetings at nighttime, because you know what? When they do stuff in the daytime, I'm sorry, that to me is not open government, because most of us are working. It's so sad to go into the fiscal court and there's only like 4 or 5 people there because everybody's working. Don't get me started. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll let them ask questions to the doctor, but I did want to show you this. The CARES conditional use permits. None of the abiding residents were notified with a written notice 14 days prior to the hearing. According to KRS 100-237, they must be legally notified by certified mail within 14 days of the hearing so that they can best prepare.
Right. Well, that would have been an issue for Jan at the Planning and Zoning and Mr. Cohen.
Can they contact you?
That can be brought up as a
delayed, or would it have to be brought about on the 9th?
It'll be brought about at the 9th, and the Board of Adjustments and P&Z, Planning and Zoning will have to decide that. Look, I try to be compassionate, and I'm a compassionate person. I just think the process is, everybody just needs to be able to digest this process and understand it. And I do commend the doctor for coming here and taking our questions, because, you know, there is frustration here from all of us, and you know, I thank him for that. Is there any more questions? Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Grants?
No grants.
No grants.
I got something to add to that. You don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but is it locally, since you said it's private funded to rehabilitate the building, is it locally private funded, or is it a national organization that's privately funded? You don't have to answer that if you don't want to, but if you can, that'd be great. It's locally funded? Thank you. Thank you a lot for that.
Any other questions? All right, so she's got one more.
I don't know if you guys are familiar with it or not, but Secretary of State will release, you can get on their website and they will release like any information of any businesses that have currently been owned, and you can look up, find any information somewhat about the entity of Dr. Sod's. So I recommend you all to do that. Dr. Sod, I do have a question for you. Do you have any other facilities out of state? Out of state. You don't own one in Florida? You don't own any type of facility? Okay. Yep, you just get on Fast Track SOS and you can find out any information there about any business registries that, not any information, but about the entity itself, what its classification is, who owns it, so on and so forth, and then you can find out any information about Dr. Sod's current businesses.
What was that website again?
KYSOS.
So, Lauren, you asked if we that everything that we own out of state, that it's not personal?
Oh, I don't know. I was just curious. I knew he owns Astra Behavioral, if he owns any other facilities outside of Kentucky or Indiana.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
We need to get on and look for ourselves.
I know we talked about the Nelson County police and so forth, and you know the system, Nelson County and taxpaying citizens, so therefore, you know, we do pay for the police, okay? So all these extra runs, and is that, you know, all that extra that they're adding to you, 100 people out here at this facility, is going to add more people. I know they said they're going to add more staff. More staff equals more money, so therefore they can create more taxes. So I know we're bringing some, you know, outside entities into the community. Us as the community, our tax-paying citizens, are going to have to help fund them, you know, Nelson County Police Department to handle this extra load of people coming into this area.
If there is an extra burden, you know, the fiscal court could pass an ordinance saying if there's so many runs or something, the fiscal court has the ability to pass an ordinance and say, okay, we're charging people, or we're charging, you know, that facility $100 or something. That fiscal court has that ability to do.
Right, now we did ask about the prospect, I know it's not his concern, but as someone who has spent his life, you know, investing in this location, and has everything tied up in it, very concerned about the loss that I'm going to suffer due to this facility being there.
Yes, sir, that's a very real.
Okay, and it's not fair to me as a tax-paying citizen of Nelson County to have to take a loss because somebody wants to make money.
Right.
I'm a businessman. I do heat and air for a living. I would not want to take a loss because another man decides he wants, you know, that's not fair to the, you know, where do our, I guess, rights come into play here, you know?
I understand.
As a tax-paying citizen.
I understand.
Or an law-abiding citizen.
You know, ultimately, that decision, that's a political decision, and the political decision can turn over from the or she's at Board of Adjustments. So if you guys have a problem with the Board of Adjustments, tell your managers, tell your judge executive, hey, we don't want, this has nothing to do with whether or not this goes through. In the future, if you guys say, hey, we don't want a Board of Adjustments, we want this going back to the elected legislature, the fiscal court is our ordinance body in this county. They are elected. So they've kind of given this, they've given, kind of passed the buck to this unelected 5 people that are now saying, okay, well, we get to decide, and they say they've taken the politics out of it, but what they've done is they've actually just passed the buck. So it's a kind of an easy way to say it. So if you guys have a problem with the Board of Adjustments, I'm not saying, oppose this, go for it, whatever. I'm just saying in the future, if you guys don't like this process, talk to the fiscal court, show up at 9 o'clock on first and third Tuesdays of every month, and tell them, we want the legislative body to determine this stuff. We want elected people to determine this stuff. Take it out of the hands of the Board of Adjustments, put it back to the fiscal court members that are elected, and they have that ability to do. So just get in there and give them your voice, give them your opinion, because otherwise we're going to go through this again and again and again, unless we incorporate. We can incorporate Coxs Creek, create our own city, create our own planning and zoning. I'm not sure if the support's there to do that. That's up to you guys, but that's another option.
Currently, none of the Nelson County Board of Adjustment members that is listed on Nelson County Public Zoning website reside in Coxs Creek. It says here that these people are from 3 from Bardstown, 1 from New Haven.
I think you've made a really good point, and that is one of my...
Louisville, Fairfield, New Haven, and Bardstown.
If you guys want to know the ratio of the Planning and Zoning Commission, it is unbelievably... There are 32,000 people in this county that do not live in one of the cities. We only get 35% right now because we're supposed to get 5. The unincorporated people are supposed to get 5 people of 11. But because Mr. Bush lives in Bardstown, there's only 4 people out of 11. So 32,000 people outside those cities are represented by 4 people. If you guys are like me and don't think that's fair, tell the fiscal court, we demand equal representation for rural people, because I'm a rural person. I live in Coxs Creek. And you know what? I want to be represented equally. And if you guys think that 32,000 people should only be represented by 4 people, whereas 11,500 people are represented by 7 people, it's wrong. So, yes, David, go ahead. I've brought it up to Judge Watson and Magistrate Lear several times. They have. I proposed an ordinance about. What do you think, Randy? Was that about Jim 3 or 4 months ago? Yeah. I proposed an ordinance asking Judge Watson and the fiscal court. We want night meetings. At least make it half night meetings. Judge Watts told me. He said, I'm never doing that again as long as I'm judge. So that's what he told me. Oh, the Board of Adjustments? That's up to the Board of Adjustments, the unelected Board of Adjustments. If you feel it's wrong, talk to the magistrates, talk to Judge Watts, and tell them, hey, we want the. You have to demand. You get the government, you demand. If we yes, Randy. Right. If you have a planning and zoning ordinance, we can rescind the planning. She's absolutely right. We can rescind the entire planning and zoning ordinance, rewrite it to where you don't have the Board of Adjustments inclusive, or for the unincorporated areas only have a certain amount. Versus right now, we only have, like he said, was it 3 in Bardstown and only 2? Yeah. So they could pass, the fiscal court could pass an ordinance and saying, hey, the Board of Adjustments needs to be equitable to rural 32,000 people, and there's only what I'm not good at percentages. What, Donna, do you know?
3 were from Bardstown. I apologize.
So. As part of the planning and zoning? A city and a county are not required to have planning and zoning. That is up to the individual city and the county. Okay, here's how it works. So if the county says we want a joint planning and zoning board, then the cities have to be given a chance to go on that board. If they don't, if the county says, you know, we don't want a planning and zoning, or we don't want to have the other cities involved, it can separate itself. I'm not familiar with planning and zoning. I'm for equitable representation on planning and zoning. That's all I'm for. Planning and zoning is needed regardless, but it needs to be accountable to the people and equitable to people that live outside one of the cities, because it's not fair to us. I'm running for county judge executive right now. Thank you. Well, anyway, are there any more questions for anybody? All right. Well, hey, you know what?
I do gotta say, I would like to say, I live here in Coxs Creek. I don't want one in my backyard. I love the idea of the hotel. I love the idea of the hospital. What I don't want is the stigma that every single addict will never change and they're all going to rob their house. But that's not true. I was a 25-year drug addict. All of them. That point is there whether there's treatment or not. Understand that. Like I said, I run a facility here. In Coxs Creek already. And I treat people all day long. I treat people all day long here now.
You're saying my chances don't increase if that's close to my house?
I've been there for years. And like I said, I don't treat addicts there. I treat people with mental health problems. Right? And so anybody can be that type of thing. If there's no treatment, those people are still here. Understand that. I just want some treatment for the people out here in Nelson, so they don't have to go think that there's no help here. Everybody has to go to Louisville to get help. There's not enough room in Louisville. Right now we don't have beds. There's no place to put them in Louisville.
Whether it's one or two, that is too many to me.
Well, I think 100 is a little large.
Well, no, I'm talking about, you got 100 beds. If there's two people that come on our property, that's too many.
Yeah, I don't think it should be in a residential community. I think it should be in a downtown type area. I do too. Like it is in Louisville. I would agree.
Well, everybody, thank you for attending. I'm glad we've been able to voice our opinions and voice. Don't forget, voting is important. Whether or not who you vote for, make sure. It is August 9th at 10 a.m. at the second floor of the old courthouse. Board of Adjustments. God bless. Have a good night.